Namaste. Hi there, beautiful souls. Welcome. Welcome to my channel. My name is Sadhana. Looks like we have a bunch of regulars in the chat. For those of you that are new, never been here, I am an intuitive reader and healer and lover of all things metaphysical. So welcome. You're very welcome to this chat. And this has been a long-awaited oracle impressions review, how to use the deck, and a lot of you have asked about working with the Tulku oracle. So I'm going to share with you several different ideas about how you might want to work with this deck. Of course, I'm going to introduce the deck. We're going to look at the cards. And I also want to acknowledge the creator of the deck. And I'm not sure if Carla will be with us in the chat, but she is at the top of the chat, Tulku Oracle, Tulku Oracle / Tulku Jewels. And I will, please remind me to announce at the end, but I believe Carla is going to be with us next Friday. And so we're going to have an interview with her and just kind of continue our discussion of the Oracle deck with its creator. So that will be, I'm really looking forward to that. I want to acknowledge everybody that is here with us. Welcome. Oh, thank you for the membership, Carla. That's wonderful. I appreciate it. Welcome to Donna. Hello, hello. Maria and Nina and Lydianne. Glad to discover this oracle. Yes, at least my experience with it, right? Because I also want to put that out there that my experience is coming through a different lens than Carla's. So Carla is coming through the lens of Tibetan Buddhism, and I am coming through the lens of the yogi and more of an association with the Hindu pantheon and mythology. But the teachings of yoga are not they're not attached to Hinduism or any other religion. It's very much it's a universal teaching, and I'm going to address all of that as we go through some of the cards that have a yogic slant to them. Maria, I said hello to you. Virag, hello, welcome. Thank you also for signing up as a member. And it was yes, you joined the Facebook group. So thank you for that. Those of you that aren't part of the Facebook group, I'm live Wednesday nights in the Facebook group, and it's a really lovely place to also to share some of your spreads. And we have great discussions there. The link is in the description box below. Hello to Grace and Evelyn. Thank you for being here. Tammy Ann. Meta, hello. Good evening to you. Welcome, welcome. Okay, so let's begin. Let us begin. I'm going to try to get this done in an hour. And what we don't finish, we will carry on with next week. And I have lots of questions for Carla as well, too. And as your questions arise, what I suggest you do is you write them down, and we will we'll ask Carla next week about them. All right. So first of all, one of the things that actually, before we go, let me do a quick introduction to the deck before we do that. I've got the cards kind of organized on the table here, I think. Sort of, maybe. This is a 53. Actually, before we do that, let's just do this. This is a 53 card oracle deck. And it's one of the things that really have, even before the deck, I had the deck in hand. One of the things that really attracted me to the deck were the colors. It is one of those collage decks where, I guess you want to see the cards, right? You don't want to hear me talk. It's one of those collage decks where the layers are so beautifully integrated that you kind of just get lost in the pictures. And that was, for sure, that was one of my first impressions of the deck. And when I held it in hand, it did not disappoint in any way. So this is an oracle size, larger than tarot deck. It has 53 cards. These are the card backs, which are really beautiful. It has a soft rose petal finish, but it is not sticky. It shuffles well. It's fairly new to me, and I am not getting cards stuck together. Hi, Joan. Welcome. Um, so off the bat, there's no physical. I have no physical complaints about the deck. I believe it is edged. Yes, it has a bronze. Sorry, I've separated into suits just to dive right into this topic. It has a lovely bronze edge. We will shuffle it and do some draws later, but it does. It has lovely bronze edging, which matches the cards beautifully. All right. So what I thought I would start with is a first strategy would be to divide the deck into suits. And we have a little symbol up at the top. So this is the suit of water. Then we have the suit of fire, the suit of metal, the suit of wood, the suit of earth. And each of the suits, oh, please don't tell me we're going to freeze here. Okay, I'm just going to switch from Wi-Fi to, hopefully I don't lose you. Bear with me. I'm just going to turn off my Wi-Fi to make sure I'm hardwired here. And hopefully everything will be fine. Okay, I'm just gonna restart the camera. Just gonna restart my phone camera. You can start getting your questions ready. I just need to fix this one. Okay. All right, let's remove it and start again. Sorry, just chat amongst yourselves. It is really beautiful. Yeah. Okay. All right, I'm gonna try again. Sorry about this. I've had really, really poor internet, and I just need to make sure. I thought I had the hardwire all set up, but we will fix this. Okay, what's going on? Bear with me. Thank you for your patience. I know the last few weeks things have been, I think what I have to do is entirely replace the modem in my house. Come on. There we go. Okay. Thank you. Thank you for your patience, everybody. Okay. And make sure that's muted. Enter studio. And we're going to add that one to the stream. Okay. All right. So are we good? Hopefully we're good. All right. So my first suggestion is to work with an element. And you have the symbols at the top. Now, these are the elements that correspond to Chinese medicine. And there's a couple different ways that you might be able to work with the element. And we all have associations with tarot and so forth. So as an example, and I just want to make sure that I have my, and I'm sorry if some of these overlap because as I was preparing this, I just started to come up with all kinds of ideas. Okay. So what I thought you could do with this is to, if you were working with a suit of water, for example, is to just use the element of water as your focus. Perhaps the suit of cups, different watery oracle decks have been working with you, and that was an element that felt worthy of your attention at this time, right? So just to separate out the 10 or 11 cards. So some of the suits have 10 cards and some of them have 11 cards. And to really kind of feel into the energy of that element. I'm going to get into some specifics of that in a moment because I have some different ideas about how you might actually do that. I'm going to start with the element of wood. The other and another, this is kind of related to this, is that as you're working with an element, you might want to focus on a particular season. Now, these seasons don't necessarily correspond to the seasons of the tarot that you would associate, but there is a built-in season through Chinese medicine, and we're going to have a look at that. So this is the, with this, can you see the little symbol there with the leaves? This is the element of wood. And I thought we could start by talking about this suit here. So the element of wood, which is not part of the tarot, feels a little bit like the energy of the suit of wands. And the first card in the suit of wood is the Swadhisthana chakra. And one of the things I thought you could do is to, in the energy of Chinese medicine, the suit of wood is connected to the season of spring. And we are not quite in Aries season, but this might be something that you want to do, is to pull out the spring cards, the wood cards, and work with them during the season of spring and have them on your altar and see how these cards pick up the energy of new beginnings, initiations, things unfolding, awakening, any Aries, or maybe you are the sign of Aries, right? And so you want to work with the Aries or the Taurus energy that might be connected to the suit of wood. Now, we have in this suit, we have the Swadhisthana chakra and the sacred heart. And I'm going to kind of jump around because I have a few different ideas about how this can all be woven together. The sun and moon card, the chakra mandala, the lotus. And the other thing you need to know is that there within this oracle deck, not only do you have suits, but there are also kind of three, what do you want to call them? There's another layer here. So we have a larger group of cards called symbols, 9 cards that represent animal totems, and then the remainder of the cards are connected to goddess, god energy. And we're going to look at all of these. And so within each of the suits, this is the suit of wood, right? You have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 symbols, which you're looking at here. You have 2 animal totems, the owl and the spirit jaguar. And then there are 4 goddess cards. So we have the energy of Ganesh, Lakshmi, Artemis, and Durga. So what I would suggest is that for the season, what you could do for the season of spring is to have these 11 cards out and to take some time to get to know them and work with them. Okay. Hello to Nancy. Welcome to you. So I'm gonna go back because I have other things that kind of fit here. Now, as you are working, and this is not necessarily in isolation, these steps, or an order that you might want to work with these steps. Sacred Heart. So let's go back to the beginning of this suit. Not that there's an order to the suit, but there are 11 cards in this suit. Okay, so first card was Swadhisthana Chakra, and then we were going to Sacred Heart. So here's another idea that I have. If you draw the Sacred Heart card and you are working with this card, there are several cards in the deck that connect to and relate to this energy. So you can see in the Sacred Heart, let me get my chopstick, the Sacred Heart card, we have the energy of the Kundalini rising, Kundalini ascending and descending, the energy of the caduceus, and then we also have a shape of the heart at the top. Among other things, which are beautifully described in the accompanying guidebook. And I want to also say that the guidebook is beautifully written. It gives you lots of information. And if you are not familiar with any of the symbols or the references, Carla does a great job in describing them in the guidebook. If you are working with this deck intuitively and you have lots of background, it is such a powerful deck with the color and the artwork that you really don't need the guidebook in that way, because it's a highly, highly energetic deck. So what I would suggest you do, and I have some of these written down and I'll try to guide you through this, is so Inner Marriage is the 27th card. It's in the suit of metal. Where's my metal pile? Here's my metal pile. So what I would do is to kind of follow the path and work with associated and linking cards for a period of time. And this is the Inner Marriage card, which has slightly different energies, different nuances to it. But what happens in this deck, as you are either reading the guidebook or you are picking up on the energy of certain cards, there is this beautiful weaving and linking of symbols through the deck. So you might come to this energy through the Inner Marriage card, you might come to it through the Sacred Heart, but one might lead you to the other. And in a similar way, I was going to try to keep these suits all separated, but I don't know if that's going to be possible. This might also lead you to the Anahat card, which is the Heart Chakra card. And the Heart Chakra card is in the suit of Earth. Here is my Earth pile. And so what I would do then is I would have, and this might be something that takes you, I don't know, like you might work, this might be a week's work or a month's work. And so you start with the Sacred Path card, which leads you to the Inner Marriage card, which leads to many, many other cards in the deck. And then you start to work with the energy of Anahat Chakra. Now, if you're looking at the Anahat Chakra card, you can see the abundance of symbols that are also there, right? And it's just this beautiful path from one card leading to another. And it's almost as if, I would call this more of a self-study deck. And initially you might come to it through a question and do it like you do with any oracle deck and to pull out a card. But I really find the strength in this deck is working with the connections. And I'm not sure if those words relate to you, but following the path of the connecting cards is really quite powerful. And because another thing that does is sometimes when we're working with a deck, what can happen is we get confused where there are seemingly repeating cards. And we can get quite judgy of a creator's work when we're going like, oh, well, isn't that card the same as this card? And we're going to see that a lot because we have the Shiva Shakti card. We have the, just a second here. Where am I going with this? I've made myself so many notes here. And there's a couple of the cards that I am not entirely familiar with. So the Yab Yum or the Yab Yum, I'm not sure which way it's pronounced, card is deeply connected, of course, to um, the inner marriage card. It's connected to the Swadhisthana card. And so we can, there's just layer and layer and path after path. And so I've just found this to be a really beautiful way to work with the deck. Okay. All right. So another strategy. Now, those of you that love your animal totems, we have animal totems in each of the suits. And this might be this might be a bit of a stretch for you. And that is why I think the first suggestion of working with the elements and working with the seasons might be really helpful. So the season of water. So, oh, let's go big for you. Sorry. The season of water is connected to the season. Sorry, the element of water is connected to the season of winter. And the one animal totem in this suit is the raven. I'm going to show you the animal totem cards. And in the suit of fire, we have the hummingbird and the wolf eagle goddess. Sorry, I need to keep these kind of organized just so I can go through. And the hummingbird card is absolutely gorgeous. And the wolf eagle goddess. Okay, and then in the suit of wood, I have some interesting questions for Carla next week in regards to these animal totems. We have the spirit jaguar, and interesting that it's called the spirit jaguar. Isn't this an absolutely gorgeous card? And we have the owl. There are 9 together. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In the suit of metal, there is deer and dragon. There's deer and dragon phoenix. This was new to me to combine these two energies, the dragon phoenix. So there we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and then there's 2 others. And in the suit of earth, we have honeybee and buffalo. Honeybee and buffalo. And it's these 2 cards actually that guided me to another idea in working with this deck. So what I would suggest you do is, for those of you that for some reason or other are working with animal totems at a particular time, to pull out the 9 animal totem cards and to spend some time working with them. And that could be in single card draws. It could be in trying to deepen your understanding with the element. So let's go through that again. So the buffalo is connected to the suit of earth, which, when you think about the history and the physical nature and qualities and the medicine of the buffalo, it is really deeply connected to the element of earth. And that just fits so beautifully. But others might be a little harder, and you're going to have to work to understand why the owl, for example, is in the suit of wood and what that might mean to you. Now, the jaguar is also in the suit of wood. And I want to say that this connects me to another idea, and that is to bring in some of the energy of Chinese medicine. And if you have never worked with Chinese medicine and you are new to some of the concepts of Chinese medicine, one of the reasons I like that the jaguar is in the suit of wood is because the element of wood is connected to that athletic body type. And there's generally a sense of fitness. And so it makes it easy for me to remember also that the jaguar sits nicely here. Carla's written about quite a few different associations with jaguar. I come to the medicine of jaguar through the shamanic practices that I have studied. And I'm going to, when I work with this deck, I'm going to use what I know about jaguar. I'm probably going to disregard what is in the guidebook because I have such a deep and profound connection with jaguar energy. And so I'm going to let this card be my jaguar energy. And that's something that I want to encourage you and empower you to do. The guidebook is a beautiful resource to help you work. This goes for any deck, right? It helps you to work with the energy of a deck. However, some of us have tremendous resources and associations. Other time it's going to come intuitively off the page, and you will be able to work with it in a different, more familiar way. Okay. All right. So I want to go back. I think I want to go back to some of your questions. Let's see here. I want to go to Donna's question here. Are the paths, the connections between the cards laid out in the book? Not specifically. However, in the description of some of the cards, there are the cards specifically aren't mentioned, but the words are mentioned. And so there is a natural flow from card to card. Okay. Also, Donna, they are intuitive. Like I was saying with the flow from the card that had the that had the caduceus with the heart, the sacred heart card to the anahat card. So it's both. It's both mentioned in the book as well as it is. It's both mentioned in the book as well as it is intuitive. So yeah, both. Okay. Let's see. And that's great. I think you have some really good suggestions here for pairing. And I'm going to talk about pairing that's one of the things I want to talk about. Let's go to Grace's comment. I love the accuracy of the symbolisms. For example, I'm sorry, I can't read that. Was celebrated in the 9th month. Okay, so for those of you that can read the letters and understand, that's really good. So I think that Carla has done her research, and I do have a couple of issues with spelling and association, and that's something that I'm going to talk about with Carla when we meet next week. But like I said, we're coming through and from different lenses, and that is okay. I have been working in lots of different modalities over the past 25 years, and one of my greatest aha moments are when different modalities have intersected and these great teachings have come through. And yes, they might be slightly different, but the heart is the same. The heart is the same. And I believe the first time this really ever hit me hard was in a Shinto shrine in Japan, and I really understood about what it meant to connect with nature. Like the Japanese paganism is through Shintoism. And there was just some power that awoke with me, with the flowers and the plants and the being aware of the blossom cycle. Like that's a huge thing in Japan. Everybody knows when all of the flowers blossom, it's not just hanami for cherry blossom time. There's hanami for all of the flowers. Yeah. So, like I said, lots of paths into all of this. Okay, Gomez is here. Hello to Gomez. Yes, the art is absolutely stunning. Welcome to Andrew. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, and the jaguar energy um, in shamanism is also connected to crossing the rainbow bridge and to being in connection with death. And the fact that the rainbow colors here are so beautiful just makes this really, really easy for me to work with in that way. Mhm. Um, okay, where are we at? Sadhana, I'm reading Three Simple Lines by Natalie Goldberg, and you would love it. Zen Haiku Japan. Oh, well, I'll make sure to write down that title after. Thank you, Nancy. Appreciate it. Okay, so here's another one. So this is the hummingbird card. Um, I'm very sorry. Please have a look at the hummingbird card. Amber, quiet. Life. Okay, so what I was saying, hummingbird. The hummingbird for me is connected to the direction of the north. Now, let's go into the notes here. So, hummingbird is in the suit of fire. And that is really, really interesting for me to have hummingbird in the suit of fire. It's not at all where I would place it. So it just adds this other dimension and perspective of the medicine of hummingbird. Oh my God, my house is so busy. Doors opening and closing. I'm so sorry. Okay. So hummingbird in shamanism, in the shamanism that I studied, is connected to the direction of the north. And Siwa Kante takes us into the medicine of the ancestors. And so what I intend to do the more I work with this deck is to build layers both of the wisdom that Carla has shared in the book and intersect that with what I already have in my own repertoire. Yeah. So the animal totem cards are just absolutely stunning. And those of you that have been following me know how much I'm enjoying working with the energy of the bee right now. So I'm really happy that there is a bee card. This is a really intriguing card for me. And the fact that the dragon and the phoenix energy is combined in this symbol is really, really powerful. This is a highly, highly transformative card. One of those cards, it's a bit like, I don't know, it's kind of like a tower card in a way, that is major transformation, maybe a judgment card, but this is a very, very powerful symbol that would take some time to work with. I don't feel like these are one day draws in any way. And then if you look, there's some couple of really interesting cards you could put in combination and study with, like the deer card is not just about the deer, and the raven card is not just about the raven. And so in working with these animal totems, there's a lot to be digested. There's a lot. And I just absolutely love that I think it's in the deer card that Carla talks about reciprocity, because reciprocity is such an important concept, and we can bring that in any of the animal cards really, but both of these cards do such a beautiful job in um, deepening our respect and reflection for all that is connected, in the earth. And neither of these are earth, right? One is metal and one is water. And so these different levels and layers could be really, really interesting. And I want to go back to the whole idea of the building and the Chinese medicine of this. Okay. Now, you know that I have never studied Chinese medicine. I only come to it through my daughter, who's been at Chinese medicine school, dabbled in it a little bit. So I'm going to go to the suit of metal. Suit of metal. And hopefully I have all the cards handy here. Okay. Suit of metal starts with Agnya Chakra. Okay. So this is one that I have an issue with the spelling. There's an extra vowel on the card after the J, right? So this is one that I would like to change the banner. So Agnya Chakra is the third eye chakra, right? This connects us to our pineal gland. It begins to awaken. The more that we work with Agnya Chakra, the greater our discernment and the easier it is to work with the lower chakras. This is a really important card. It comes in the suit of metal, which is an element I am not familiar with at all, right? Because I haven't studied the Chinese elements. However, the suit of metal is connected. What I want to say, the cards that are in the suit of metal have a thread that runs through them. There's a theme that runs through them. And in connecting all of the cards in that suit, I can get a feeling for the energy of metal. The season is fall for metal, which kind of makes sense, right? It's cold and it's dry. And this connects us into the lungs. And this would take us to the heart for chakra associations. And so there's a few things that are a bit of a stretch for me, but I want to work with this. So in the suit of metal, we seem to be working with perception. The second card in this suit is the Sahasrara chakra. Never an easy word to say. Say that quick 10 times. Sahasrara, Sahasrara, Sahasrara. The crown chakra. This is a gorgeous card. And what I feel about this particular suit is there's a real sense of awakening and deepening our connection to spirit and to the Akash. One of the cards that I really, really wish was in this suit that I absolutely love, and I'm going to tell you what suit it's in, is and it's another word that I didn't know until I studied this deck, and I don't know how to say it, Tokcha card. And that is in the suit of water. I'm going to grab it because these intersections are really beautiful. Okay, here it is right here. It just fell out. This card here. This is a card that I see, Marie White would love this card, about taking us into the abyss. This is the universe. This is the intersection of as without, so within. It's an absolutely gorgeous card. And even though it's not in the suit of metal, these cards there's something really, really powerful with Agnya Chakra, Sahasrara, and the Toksha card. Yeah. Okay. Also in the suit of metal, we are introduced to Sankalpa. And I've got I'm going to divert and talk about Sankalpa on its own. I need a sip of tea. You can tell I love this stuff, right? This is where I live and thrive. I'm just going to finish kind of the theme for the metal suit. So in the metal suit, we also have a card called Sat Chit Ananda, which takes us into the bliss body. And so the theme for this particular suit is one of deep meditation. It's one of deeply connecting to spirit. And so in working with this particular suit, I could see maybe, this would take you into a month or a 3 months of a particular deep meditative focus. Like it's really well done. But I only want to be on for an hour today, so I'm going to divert, and I want to give you another idea of how to work with this deck. Okay, so this is the Sankalpa card, and I'm going to talk about Sankalpa just for a minute. Okay. Sankalpa. Sankalpa is a term that is much, much deeper than um, resolution or intention. Those are two very poor English translations for the Sanskrit term Sankalpa. A Sankalpa connects us to our spiritual dharma. And on a very mundane level, a sankalpa could help us to quit smoking. So we could create a sankalpa that is, my intention is to withdraw attachment to cigarettes or marijuana or whatever it is you want to quit smoking. And we begin with the physical, right? We begin with with the tobacco or the cigarettes or whatever. And it's funny, I'm just thinking about even at the physical level, we could start to honor and respect the tobacco in a different way. Rather than smoking it, we could put it into an offering or something. So my relationship, so maybe the sankalpa is my relationship with tobacco is going to change from a smoking addiction to an offering of the tobacco as a sacred offering. Now, wouldn't that be beautiful? Okay. The idea with Sankalpa is we can start with something tangible and that feels more practical, much like an intention. But eventually, a Sankalpa is going to take you deeper and deeper. And I'm going to give you an example of one of my personal journeys with Sankalpa. And that was contemplation about, and this is an exercise that I do in one of my workshops. And I ask you to think about people you admire. And I remember doing this exercise, and I was at that time, I was thinking about dancers and people who speak eloquently, and the list of people were all very graceful. And what happened as I spent some time with this list of people was I started to realize that all of the people in that list, they're they had no blocked energy, whether they were a dancer or an inspirational speaker, they just kind of flowed with life. And so my intention became to move with ease and grace. And so I started with to move with ease and grace. And then eventually it wound its way down to, I am energy, I am prana. And working with Sankalpa takes on it's a huge lifelong project, but the journey with Sankalpa takes us deeper and deeper and deeper. And so what I think you can do with this deck is to focus on the Sankalpa card and then shuffle the rest of the deck and use the second card as a guide into deepening your intentions, deepening your connection to the power of Sankalpa. Now, Sankalpa is most powerfully repeated on a daily basis. And I work with it in Yoga Nidra, but you can work with it just as you're going to sleep. You can repeat it at the beginning and the end of your meditation time. You can write it down daily. It's something that you need to repeat over and over. So when I was working with I Move with Flow and Grace, that's something that I would repeat many times during the day, and it would just sort of become it would become my own a mantra that was part of my just my way of being. So yeah, so that's another idea. I think that this deck could really help with Sankalpa development, and that might be of interest to some of you and not so much to others. Okay. Now, Also in this deck, we have, and I may as well show you in the guidebook, and I can show you some of the cards. Some of them you've seen already. Some of them. We have lots of goddess cards. So much like I said with the animal totems, one of the things you could do with this deck is to select the goddess cards. I'm not sure that there are 9 of them. Here, I can go to I'll tell you which ones are in this deck. This book does have a table of contents. Yay. Surprising the number of, and they're referred to as archetypes, not goddess. So we have Ganesh, Lakshmi, Artemis, Bear Eagle Goddess, Kuan Yin, Medicine Buddha, Yab Yum, Vajra Yogini, Durga, Kali Yantra, Lilith, Eye of Horus, Isis, La Virgin de Guadalupe, and Vesica Pisces. So these archetypes are primarily goddess energy. And so what you could do is extract these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 cards and spend some time working with these archetypes. There's a powerful supportive energy that can be I'm just looking at Evelyn's comment here. Could one of the moderators please put a link to the deck in the chat right now, and then I'll make sure that Carla's website is in the description box below later. I will edit that. There is a supportive, nurturing energy that comes with working with the goddess, and sometimes we are not aware of what aspect of God or goddess is going to support us at this time. So, I don't know. I think these cards are so beautifully illustrated and they cover a wide range of energy. I want to talk about the Horus, Eye of Horus card, which really spoke to me. So this is in the suit of metal. Let me find the metal cards. Everything's all mixed up now. See if I can find it for you. There it is. There's the Eye of Horus card. And hopefully I can weave together some of the things I've already said. You see 2 eyes in this card, not just one eye, right? And Carla talks about the eye of Ra and the eye of Horus, and how understanding how the eye of Ra and the eye of Horus work together. It was so beautiful, and it made so much sense to me. And it was something that if I've read before, I totally forgot about. This also took me very deeply into that 2 of Pentacles card in the Marielle Tarot, which, I love so much. And so this is the contemplation here. So the eye of Ra represents the sun, and the eye of Horus represents the moon. And it is through the interpretation, it is through the digestion, the integration of our external experience, which is the eye of Ra, that we are able to bring these messages internally. And this is something that I contemplate often, because when we are, a lot of you have done workshops with me and so forth. And when we're working with third eye chakra, and when we're working with intuitive practices and so forth, there's a lot of blurring of vision and seeing of orbs and auras and things like that that can happen with our open three-dimensional eyes. But it's not, which would be the eye of Ra, but it's not without the eye of Horus, our internal, it's not with, it's the pineal gland and so forth, right? The Agnya Chakra, that we can't interpret the third dimension. And so what I see in the beauty of this card here and the way that Carla described it is how so very important it is to work both in the third and fifth dimension simultaneously when we're working on Agnya Chakra. And I just I'm very, very, I'm going to be working with this card. This is a card that feels very, very special to me at this time. So just a little diversion there. Okay, what else do I have for you? Now, one of you mentioned this already, and there are many, many of these cards. If you've never done journeying or path working with cards, it's not difficult. You would need to have some sort of meditative technique to get you into liminal space. That can come through breath, that it could come through drumming, it could come through repetition of a japa practice or some kind of mantra practice to take you into liminal space. And all you simply do is you hold the card in front of you and you observe. What I tend to do when I'm doing path working is I take in all of the background and I observe all of the details in the card, and then I find a focal point. So in this particular card, I might focus on the nose, I might focus on the heart space, and generally speaking, I think it's the best advice is to focus somewhere in the center of the card. And then as you focus on the center of the card, eventually you close your eyes and then you take a little journey into the card. This doesn't always happen right away for everybody. It does take some practice, but the way that these cards are drawn, they lend themselves so beautifully to path working. So I would strongly recommend that. Okay. I'm just looking at Liddy Ann's comment. The illuminated earth oracle would look beautiful with these cards. Yes, I totally agree with you. So Lily Valley typed the earth illuminated oracle. I think it's the illuminated earth oracle. Yes, it would look really, really pretty with that. But I have a couple other suggestions. Okay, let's put these on the table. Now you can see the edges. They're out. The edges are absolutely gorgeous. Okay. So one suggestion for those of you that like this deck, I want to say of all the Colette Baron Reid decks, this is one that I really like this deck. I should actually edge this one. I've never taken the time to do that. But one of the reasons that these two decks, not only aesthetically do they work well together, but energetically. I think that the wisdom of Carlo Villalobos and the third creator, whose name I can't remember, if somebody wants to pop that into, is it Ganesh here? Yes, Ganesh is in this deck. Yes, the combination of creators that came together for this deck makes this a really powerful deck, and I really feel like, can you imagine drawing the Buffalo card and the Thunder card together, because there is a Buffalo card in this deck. That would be really, really amazing. Yeah. And we have, the medicine wheel here. It's just, I don't know. I think these two decks are just such a perfect pair. So if you have the Mystical Shaman, I would strongly recommend trying it with the Tulku Oracle. When I was reading through the guidebook, it was actually one of the cards that, and I'm going to, I should actually trim, I need to trim this deck. Maybe, maybe not. I don't know. I'll tell you a funny story while I'm looking for a particular card. So last year, I purchased the borderless version of Raven Fallon's Messenger Oracle, as well as the borderless Enchanted Map. And I have to tell you, I like my original ones better. And it's funny, this is the deck that I've pulled out now, is this one, Stacey DeMarco's Earth Power. I'm looking at it and thinking, oh, I should probably trim it, but I know in the end that it's probably not a great idea. I just need to leave these decks for what they are. Okay, so the reason these two decks are going to work so beautifully together is because in the Tulku Oracle, we have reference to a lot of sacred sites. And so there is reference in the Tulku to Glastonbury, different places in Nepal. And I just feel like the energy of Stacey DeMarco's deck would only deepen your experience with that. This is a sacred place. Oh, this is so on my bucket list. I really need to go here. There's my Japan. But I'm just going to show you the card. I'm just going to show you the what triggered me to pull out this card. And we have a Mount Kailash card, which is great. That of course is going to come up with probably the Shiva Shakti card. Where is it? I know it's here. Yes, there it is. And so somewhere in the guidebook, Carla mentioned the Ajanta Caves, and that's what made me think about this deck. I really like Stacey DeMarco's deck. It's got some really powerful messages in the guidebook as well too. Okay. Oh, thank you. So what Donna's comment here is referring to, the third creator in the Mystical Shaman Tarot is Marcelo Lobos. Oh, no. Marcella Lobos. Okay. Yes, I really look forward to our chat next week. Okay, bye, Carla. Hello to long hair, skinny-eyed toe. Welcome to you. And yes, Stacey DeMarco does have some very, very powerful decks. Okay, so that, I'm going to take that away. And I know some of you have been suggesting deck combos in the video, but I think this came up. Well, how did this come up? Probably because I was it might have even been before I got the Journey of the Sacred Bee. But these two decks look really beautiful together. And for some people, it might be too much, but I feel like these decks really have something powerful to say to each other. So there's a couple of suggestions I have for you. Yeah. Isn't that interesting that you asked about the Tiltwick Tarot? The Tiltwick Tarot, I am going to do a deep dive with this deck, but I don't feel energetically they are aligned. So I personally wouldn't put them together. Okay, so I have one other suggestion. One other suggestion. Okay, and this is kind of obvious. Kind of obvious, but I'm gonna share with you what, why, how, etc. Where did I put this deck? Don't know where I put it. Okay. This is, oh, it's right here. Sorry, going dizzy with my, okay. All right, so lastly, and some of you who took the, Margaret Peterson would also look well, I think, would look good together too. I think so. And Margaret Peterson, I agree, would work, but I wouldn't use the Tildwick. I feel like it has a very different frequency. Okay. So as far as chakra awareness and what I might do with this deck. I feel as if this deck could have been organized around the chakras. There are so here we are at Manipura chakra. So one of the things I might do is, and not necessarily all of the cards are going to be in the suit of fire. The flame is in the suit of fire. So Manipura chakra is the navel chakra, the solar plexus chakra, the one that is activated through the navel center. And if you were wanting to work with your physical digestion, you are working on self-esteem issues, what you might do is pull out all of the cards that relate to the medicine and the energy of Manipura. And so there's some education that might be needed there. You might not be able to necessarily do this on your own. I mean, some of the cards are going to be more obvious than other. I'm just looking for some other ones that might work here. So the power of transformation through fire, which is in the suit of metal. So this is one of the things that I've been trying to explain and teach in my chakra tarot class, is that we need to understand the energy of the chakras first, and then we can see the medicine of the chakras in a variety of cards. So even though this is in the suit of metal, we have the power of transformation through fire represented in both of those animals, right? What else might I work with in Manipura? I'm sure there's lots of other cards that I could work with. So anything to do with self-esteem. There's so many amazing Swatistan cards here. And what I could do is actually for next week is I could sort the cards into chakras. That might be kind of fun to do that. Because I don't think on the fly I'm gonna interesting. I'm just looking here. I would definitely put Durga here. And Durga is in the element of wood. This is a very quick flip through. So I think I might do that for you next week. And then that I can make that part of the discussion. Yeah, that might be kind of fun. And you could also do that as well too, you know, if you wanted to do some preparation for our discussion. So what's going to happen next week is I've got a bunch of questions ready for Carla, but I'm also going to do this exercise. And yeah, so if you can think of any questions you have, and let me know how many of you have this deck and if you're working with it and how you're working with it, that would be, I would like to know. I'd like to know. So I want to thank Donna. Oh, thank you so much too for looking after the chat, Donna. I appreciate it. I'm gonna go back to the comments here and just check in with you. I don't know this deck. I'm going to have a peek at it. I also don't have Shimmering Veil, so I need to check in with that. Yeah. So I hope that gives you some ideas about what you might do if you've been struggling working with the deck. I feel sometimes that, I mean, more than anything, having a question is so very, very important. For me to shuffle some cards and just kind of thinking, okay, what is the energy for today? It's okay, but it's so much better if you have a little bit more specific question. Because we all know stuff that we're working with. And even if the question is about how can I further deepen my path through, and then you just name the challenge, whatever the challenge is. Because isn't that ideally what we're all doing, right? We're all on these healing journeys and so forth. Yeah. It is. It is really, really beautiful. Yeah. Okay. Well, I am going to leave. Actually, let's draw a card. Let's draw a card. Why not? Shuffle, 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 and draw a card. Okay. And I think it's really timely that because this evening we move into Pisces at what time? The sun is in Pisces. Oh, we're already in Pisces. It's already Pisces season. How did that happen? I'm probably going to draw 2 cards. And so here's my question for all of you. And that is, as we enter into Pisces season, which can kind of be a challenging season if the Pisces energy is too much for you, you know, if you're going through a really emotional time or the pull of the moon is really playing with you, if some of your shadows are emerging and you're in immense discomfort. Okay. So as we enter into Pisces season, as we enter into Pisces season, what meditative support does Spirit offer us? Virag, I'm so glad I saw your face on the Facebook post. It's so nice to have a face associated with a name. Okay. These cards shuffle beautifully too. All right. This is the elements card. This is the elements card. So all the elements, this is in the suit of earth. I am going to pull one more card. Okay. How many of you have a practice of setting up an altar and take the time to keep your altar alive? One of the things, one of my Swami, actually, I've heard this from quite a few sources, and that is the importance of keeping an altar alive can keep it working, keep the energy working. And so what does that mean besides dusting? It means shifting anything live on the altar, make sure the candles are fresh. It means you want to put offerings on and to awaken the altar every morning and so forth. But one of the ways to keep an altar alive is to make sure there's a balance of elements on the altar. Do you have something representing the element of water, the element of fire? And in this particular deck, is bringing awareness to metal and wood as well too. So for me, I would not only have the five elements that I'm connected with, but I might also now bring in the element of metal and the element of wood. So there's a the more that we understand the integration of elements and the balance of elements, the more that that is going to help us in the watery season of Pisces. Right? So let's heighten our awareness with that. Okay, so I'm going to diverge a little bit from the way that Carla talks about the Vishuddhi chakra. The Vishuddhi, and it's Vishuddha. Both Vishuddha and Vishuddhi are correct. The lineage that I am initiated in refers to the throat chakra as Vishuddhi. So Vishuddhi chakra is the element of ether. And the element of ether, of course, is kind of beyond the elements. The element of ether connects all of the elements and asks us to honor all that is in between and all that is connecting. And so, in that regard, it's kind of cool that, this card represents all of the elements, and then this card represents the ether. The Vishuddhi chakra also asks us to be impeccable in our words. And sometimes when we're working with shadow and when the moon pull is a little too strong, we're working with karmas or patterns that are very uncomfortable. We get really, really good at not speaking the truth to ourselves. We get really good at BSing ourselves in our journals, even, to our friends. And so as we move into Pisces season, let's be impeccable in our words and speak the truth. Speak our own truth, not the truth through the filter of any mask that you wear. And that will really help. That will really help to, I want to say, expedite the journey through some of the challenges. Right? So if we cut through any artificialness, things are a lot easier. So be yourself. Be yourself. Hi, Erica. Hello, welcome. Okay, so that is a wrap for today, and I will see some of you on Tuesday for Lenormand, and you know my schedule. Tuesday is Lenormand. My classes are still ongoing. I know what I do want to say. So the last class of the chakra course is next week. And then at the beginning of March, so the 1st of March, there are a couple of spaces left. My next class that is starting is this one. That's not the right banner. That is not the right banner. Ignore that. Ignore that. Where is it? This one? There we go. That's the banner I wanted. So my next class is starting March 1st, and there's a couple of spaces left in this class. It is, I promise you, it is an amazing, amazing course. And the group that went through it in 2021 had such a good time. So if you have the energy to commit to a 22-week course, let me know. You can shoot me a message, and of course, I'll can do a payment plan as well too if that's an issue for you. Whatever works for you. I think it says there's 4 spots left, but there's actually 2 spots left, I believe. Yeah. So I look forward to seeing you next week. Have a lovely weekend and take good care of yourselves. Namaste.